are going to study about the root canal system classification. Before starting with the classification, let us first take an overview about what is a root canal. So as we all know that tooth has been divided into various parts like enamel, which form the outermost layer, then we have dentine and the pulp, which contain all the blood vessels and the nerve supply of the tooth. So in this diagram, the pulp has been represented with the red color. So for better understanding, we divide pulp into two parts. We have coronal pulp and radicular pulp. As the name suggested, the coronal pulp is present in the crown portion of the tooth and the radicular pulp is present in the root portion of the tooth. So in this diagram, we can imagine that this portion which is present in the crown is known as coronal pulp, and the part of the pulp which is present in the root is radicular pulp, and this radicular pulp is also known as root canal. So depending upon the various morphology of this root canal, we have divided root canal system into various classification. Normally, we can say that a single root canal which is straight from starting from the pulp chamber to the apical foramen is very uncommon. So this type of morphology is very rarely seen. Sometimes you can see that there is a single canal arising from the pulp chamber, then after traveling to some distance they might divide into two different canals which exist from the two different foramen or may exit from a single common foramen. The number of root canal which is present in the tooth correspond to the number of roots present in the tooth. For example, the premolar, maxillary first premolar usually has two roots and two root canal, but it is not true in all the cases. Sometimes a single root may have two root canals. Most commonly it is usually seen in the mesial root of the mandibular first molar. In mandibular first molar, you can see that the mesial root almost always have two root canal. So sometimes they meet before exit and exit from a single apical foramen, or they may also exit as two individual canals. So various researchers and studies were conducted on the tooth. So different classifications were given. Among those, we have most important three classifications. First of all, we have Vertucci'S classification. Then we have Wiene's classifications, and third one we have Jou et al. Classifications. These classifications are very important. They are usually asked in vivas as a short question in university exams, and they are a very important topic according to NEET MDS. Usually we get a questions from this topic. Now let us start with the first classification, which is a Vertucci'S classification. So usually short note about Vertucci classification, in which we have to mention all the types of Vertucci classification and also draw a figure. So I have drawn a figure in this which will help you to answer in a better way, and also I will give you a trick to learn this in a simple way. So first of all, Vertucci classification has total 8 type of root canal system in this. I have divided the first 3 column into one group, then from 4 to 7 in second group, and then the 8 type is separate. So all the root canal system from type 1 to type 3 has only one apical foramen. As you can see in this diagram also, there is only one apical foramen from which the nerves are exiting. Second group which I have divided, that is from the type 4 to type 7, we have 2 apical foramen, which you can see in this figure also, and in type 3 we have 3 apical foramen. So from type 1 to type 3 we have only one apical foramen. Then from 4 to 7 we have 2 apical foramen, and the 8 type has 3 apical foramen. So I have divided them into 3 different groups according to apical foramen. Now the type 1 is also known as 1, which means a single root canal starts from the pulp chamber. So this is a pulp chamber. A single root canal is starting from it, and it also exits as a single canal from the apical foramen. There is no sub-branching, there is no lateral branching, there is no fusion in between the whole length. So we represent 1 as 1. Now in type 2, we have two different canals arising from the pulp chamber, and before exiting from the apical foramen, both the canal fuses and then exit as a single canal from the apical foramen. Then we have type 3, in which a single root canal starts from the pulp chamber, then after traveling some distance, it divided into two different root canal, which again fuses after some time to form a single root canal. So we represent as type 1 as 1, then we represent type 2 as 2, 1. We should always remember that the number which is written in the last will represent the number of apical foramen. So I have written 1 on the right side, which means we have only one apical foramen from which our root canal is exiting. Then the number before that represent if there is any division in between. So here 1, 2 represent that from the pulp chamber there will be 2 root canals, and apical foramen there will be 1. Type 3 can be written as you can also see that it is arising as a single canal from the pulp chamber. So we will write 1. Then we can see that it has been divided into two different root canals. So I will write 2. And after that it is exiting as a single canal from apical foramen. So I will write 1 representing they have been only one apical foramen. So this is a trick to remember it. Now next we will come to the second group, which I have divided from 4 to 7. So this class will have 2 apical foramen. So in type 4 we can see that we have 2 canals emerging from the pulp chamber, and they exit as 2 different canals from 2 different apical foramen. So we represent it simply as 2. Then in type 5 we can see that a single canal is starting from the pulp chamber. So we will represent it as 1 canal which is starting from the pulp chamber, and after traveling to some distance it is divided into 2. So we will write it as 2 because they are exiting as 2 different canals from 2 different apical foramen. In type 6 we can see that 2 different canals are exiting from the pulp chamber. So we will write 2. Then after some time they will get fused. Then we will represent it as 1, and after that they again divided into 2 different canals. So I will write them as 2. So in this you can see that the last number which is coming on the extreme right has 2 written because it has 2 apical foramen. Then we have type 7. In this, single canal arises from the apical foramen, then it gets split into 2, then again it united as 1 canal, then finally it exits from the apical foramen as 2 different canals. So we are going to represent it as 1, 2, 1, 2. Now final we have type 3. In this, 3 different canals start from the pulp chamber and exit from the 3 different apical foramen. So we represent it simply as 3. Now I will give you a trick to remember this Vertucci classification. As we all know that Vertucci classification has 8 types, and we have already divided them into 3 groups. One group is from 1 to 3, then we have 4 to 7, and last group is 8. Now the first group has only 1 apical foramen, then group 2 has 2 apical foramen, and the third group has 3 apical foramen. Now how to remember their numbers, like which type will have 1, 2, because usually in NEET MDS we are given a configurations like 1, 2. Which type of Weine classification is that? So we have to remember it in both the ways. In first group we have 1, 2, 3, and as we all know that it has only 1 apical foramen. So on extreme right I will write 1, 1, 1, which will represent that they have only 1 apical foramen. Then in the second group we have 2 apical foramen. So on the extreme right I am going to write it as 2, as they have 2 apical foramen. Now we will leave the first of both the columns. So in type 1 we will not write anything before 1, and in second group also, we are not going to write anything before this first number. So after that we are going to write 1 and 2 alternatively. So if we have 1 written on extreme right, then we are going to write 2 here. Then here we have 1, 2, then we are going to add 1 more number here. Then in type 4 we have written 2. So as we know that we have to omit the first one. Then starting from the second number we have 2, then we will write 1. Then we are going to copy the one which is written above, which is 2, 1, and then I'm going to add 1 number which is 2. Then I have to write the number which is written above that, and then I'm going to add 1 more thing in that. And type 8 is very simple, which is 3, so we need not to remember that separately. So this is a way to learn this. What we will do, we will write the number of apical foramen which are present first, then we are going to write 1 and 2 alternatively, and we are going to copy the number which is written above first, and then going to add 1 more number. So like in type 3 I have written it as 1, 2, 1. So I know that type 1 has only 1, the type 2 is 1, 2, then type 3 will be 1, 2 from above, and then I'm going to add only 1 before that. Now let us study about the second classification, which is the vein classification of root canal system. In this we have 4 types: type 1, type 2, type 3 and type 4. As we already read the Vertucci classification, it will be very easy for us to learn the vein classification. Classification type 1, we have a single root canal starting from the pulp chamber, and it exits as a single canal from the apical foramen, so we represent it as 1. Then we have type 2. In this, the 2 canals starts from the pulp chamber. Then after traveling some distance, they unite into 1 canal and exit from a single apical foramen. Represent it as 1 on the extreme right, as it has only 1 apical foramen. And then as we can see that there are 2 canals arising from the pulp chamber, so we will write 2. So the vein classification will be 2, 1. Then according to vein classification 3, we have 2 individual canals rising from the pulp chamber, and they exit from the 2 different apical foramen, so we represent them as 2. Then in type 4 we have a single root canal emerging from the pulp chamber, so we will write it as 1, and then it will split into 2 canals which will exit from the 2 apical foramen, and we can represent it as 2. This is all about the vein classification. Now remember, the vein classification is that if we know about our Vertucci classification, as we have studied in the Vertucci classification, the 8 different types, the type 1 and type 2 of the Vertucci classification, and type 4 and type 5 of the Vertucci classification is similar to that of type 1 and type 2 of the vein classification. Now we will be studying about the last classification, which is the classification based on cross section. So first of all, we should know what is a tooth cross sections. If we imagine this pencil as a tooth, and if we cut it like this in a horizontal section, so whatever the portion of the root which will be visible to us, that is known as cross section. According to the different shapes which we see in a root canal, when we cut a cross section through the root, we have divided root canal system into various types, and it was given by Jou et al, and it is also known as Jou et al classification. So according to him, first of all we have a round cross section. So I have drawn a tooth and we have done a cross section of this tooth. So if we see a round root canal which is present in the center, it is known as round. Then we have oval shape, which will be represented like this. Then we have long oval, which will look like oval, but it will be little extended from both the sides. Then we have a flattened end root canal. In this you can see that there will be a very thin root canal which will be present, as if it has been compressed from both the sides. And then we have irregular shape, which will not have any definite morphology. So all this we have studied today in root canal system is very important. Most important is a Weins and Vertucci classification. Most of the questions arises from these two classification only. In exam, we will ask the questions about the short note, then we have to draw these figures as well as write their values. One more important question which is usually asked in NEET MDS is that, so which tooth have all the 8 possible configuration which we seen in vein classification? And for that answer is maxillary second premolar. So our maxillary second premolar is the only tooth which can have any of the 8 Vertucci classification which we have read. So that's all for today. Thank you very much. I hope you like the lectures. If you have any suggestion or you want me to change my teaching style or you want me to add some animations, graphic, whatever, please comment down. I would love to help you in any way. Please comment down. I would love to hear from you people, and thank you.